all due respect to your guys' use of the English language vocally and written, this is the time of year that I kind of go into hibernation from your guys' great ideas. But I did read after the Virginia Tech game and listened a little bit. You know, we got a ways to go with our local media to report on our basketball team. You know, when I kind of sit there and I play 5 freshmen for about 14 consecutive minutes, and the headlines is that we got smashed by Virginia Tech, I'm a little disappointed that's a direction that our media uses that covers our team, not some guy from Idaho or something, to represent our basketball program. But that's your right. I respect it. I hope you respect the fact that I don't like that that's the way it's covered, but it's okay. With all that said, here we go again. What we got?
Questions, guys? Dave?
Frank, is there one, I guess, area of the team that most concerns you going into, or an area that you're most pleased with going into this one?
I'm real excited about our team. I was excited after our first practice. I was excited leading into the Virginia Tech exhibition game. I was excited after that exhibition game. Yeah, I like our team. I like our depth. I like our balance. You know, we've got growing to do, and that's not a bad thing. That's the way it should be. You know, we're still trying to figure out roles, responsibilities, and who does what best. And I utilized the 2 exhibition games as an opportunity to just throw a bunch of freshmen out there and just kind of, just without helping them much as far as strategy, just kind of let them go so they can figure it out. And I think that they've all responded the right way. And so I mean, I could have 9 seniors and I'd have concerns going into the season. That doesn't change the optimism that I have for our basketball team.
Colin?
Frank, kind of going off that, have there been any guys that kind of stood out in the backcourt for you over the past 2 exhibitions and in practice? And are you still going to test some new guys out, maybe at point through the first couple games of the season?
Excuse me. I think our point guard spot is fine. It's pretty established that through practices that Hassani, Corey, and Wes will all man that job. All the first-year guys have all had their moments. You know, David Beatty has had great moments. Justin Minaya has had great moments. Felipe has had great moments. I'm talking about the first-year guys. You know, Frank Booker and Wes Myers have been pretty consistent in practice. You know, their journey is a little different than a freshman's because I've got to understand them on the fly and they got to understand me on the fly. And we have to figure out a way to incorporate if they do what we ask them to do, which they both have done. I've got to figure out a way to incorporate them in a way that they can help us immediately. And we're still trying to figure all that out. You know, like I told you guys 3-4 weeks ago, there's only so much you can figure out through practices. Now that the games start, now we got to figure out a different chapter for our team. And in the month of November and probably through Christmas, we're gonna be still trying to figure out a lot of stuff about our team. But those, they've been good. You know, it's freshmen are freshmen. They're awesome. I love coaching freshmen, but you never know what you're gonna get 2 days in a row. It just, that doesn't make them bad guys. That makes them freshmen, and that's the challenge in coaching freshmen is having the patience to get them to understand how to be consistent with the things that they do and the way they approach things.
Frank, what went into agreeing to playing at Wofford on Friday night, and what do you expect there with them opening their new arena?
I haven't had a drink in 11 years. I'm telling you, I think there's a bottle of scotch with my name on it at my house right now. I'm all for growing basketball, and probably about a year ago, Mike Young, who's a friend, I've got unbelievable amount of respect for him. He's one of the great human beings in our business. Him, Eddie Fogler, and I all share very good friendship. And we entered into a conversation like, hey, would you consider doing this? I wasn't going to say no to Mike. And, Mr. Richardson has made a commitment to build them a state-of-the-art facility. Mike's worked his tail off to build an unbelievable program there at Wofford. It'd be pretty selfish on my part if I didn't sign up to do this, to show our state and show the country just what a real good basketball coach Mike Young is. I can't lie to you. It sounded like a great idea a year ago, and I've been trying to fire myself for the last 2 days, but it's the right thing to do. They're a good basketball team. It's going to be a great challenge. I'm sure it's going to be a crazy atmosphere in that building. All those things make us better.
Moving forward, that you start the season on the road at Wofford, and then you guys go to Myrtle Beach for the Puerto Rico tip-off. How much does road games, even though they're not far away from home, but they're still road games, how much does that help this young team grow in the beginning of the season as opposed to starting the season at home a lot?
It's a challenge. I don't know how other coaches do it. I don't really spend a lot of time talking about home games and road games. I spend time talking about the next opponent. But there's different emotions. There are different emotions. Sometimes inexperienced teams at home struggle because they get too caught up with the positivity or the negativity coming from the home crowd, depending on how the game's going. So it's always a challenge. But anytime you play on the road in other people's arenas, you learn how to kind of tune stuff out and just pay attention to your teammates, your bench, your staff, and you learn how important it is that you rely on each other because it's hard to win on the road. So you got to expose guys to that, because if the first time we're exposed to that is an SEC play, I can't get mad at my freshmen if they're not prepared to manage that moment when the time comes.
Frank, I wanted to ask about that Conway tournament. I know you've got other opponents before then. Does it change what you wanted to get out of it, that it's not in Puerto Rico anymore and it's in Conway, or can you still get everything that you want from 3 games against, other opponents you won't see during the year and early in the season?
You're going to think this is funny, but it's actually the truth. My suntan in my gut. I planned to watch film by the pool, and I expected to eat a lot of food that I grew up eating. And nothing against Myrtle Beach, but I don't think I'm going to be sitting next to the pool in 50-degree weather. At least I'm not. When you play in these tournaments, Pete, the biggest thing is, once again, playing away from home. So learning how to go to a hotel, how to coexist in a hotel, how to remain focused on the game at hand in a foreign court, not the place you practice at every day. And then the last part is these multi-team events is learning and teaching your players how to manage winning and losing with quick turnarounds. So they learn. As coaches, we know how to prepare teams through their minds. Young players really have not had to prepare through their minds. They just wake up and go play. Well, just waking up and going to play doesn't help you succeed in college basketball. So it's an opportunity to, whether you got an older team or a younger team, on teaching them how to handle the emotions of both winning and losing, because you better be prepared for both, and having to turn around and prepare to go win the next day. Because if you win, you don't want to get wrapped up in the win and not pay attention to the next one, or you're going to lose. And if you lose, you better not dwell on a loss, because then you're going to have two losses. And those are the things you're trying to avoid, and learning those quick turnarounds.
What was the difference in playing the game against Virginia Tech? I mean, I know you guys scrimmage them all the time, but playing a game against a Power 5 team with a crowd in an exhibition format, how much different was that gaining for your players, and also exposing them, like you said, to that adversity and having them manage that?
Their point guard's been a 3-year starter. He's gone up against every single, you name all the so-called pros that played in the ACC, he's gone against every single one of them for 3 years. They went to the NCAA tournament last year with him as their starting point guard. Their team, Buzz, he rattled off some of the names of guys that didn't play last year. But the one kid that everyone calls Pig, Jackson's his last name, he was there last year. It's like Corey Holden on our team. He understands what it takes. Bibbs, who didn't play against us on Sunday, hush, hush, don't tell anybody, but he played on Saturday. He 4-year starter. The other kid, who I can't remember his name, he's a 6-year player who played football last year instead of playing basketball. He's got older guys. And what happens is those older guys play at a different speed with a different strength and not as emotionally tied to the last play. Younger guys don't understand that until they actually play against it. It's I've said this before and I'll say it again. We and I'm not taking shots at grassroots basketball. I never do that. Our grassroots system doesn't really prepare our guys to understand how hard it is their freshman year. And you play a team like Vatek, who's, Wayne Blackshear. He got hurt last year, but Wayne's been him for a little bit. It's now I'm playing Felipe Haas 14 consecutive minutes or whatever he played. Hey, I didn't play Senderis 14 consecutive minutes. I played him 14 consecutive minutes, and that's who he's dealing with. The other young man only played 15 minutes, but that's who Felipe ended up guarding a whole lot with the bad knee and the Chris Clark. Chris Clark is as motored up and high-level a player as there is. It's year 3 for him, and that's who Felipe is dealing with. So that speed, that strength, that lack of engaging on the emotion of the previous play, those were things that our guys needed. We can't resist, like Hassani. People ask me all the time, why Hassani can adapt to the game now? Because last year he dealt with that, dealing with Senderis and Dwayne every single day in practice. We have not been able to resemble that because we don't have enough returning players for all our guards to comprehend that speed that they got to play at. But that's what that game did for us. That's why I played all the first-year guys. That's because they needed to understand that.
Frank, what's the status for Corey going into Friday? How's he feeling, and where are you kind of with your rotation and things like that?
Yeah, Corey's fine. Like I said over the weekend, if that would have been a real game, he would have dressed and I would have thrown him out there. He's fine. He's still, like anyone that's coming off an injury, he's trying to get to a place of peace with his own body. That's just normal. It is what it is. There's nothing you can do to circumvent that process. He'll get there. But he's fine. He'll play. And as far as rotations and all that, I'm not good with determining these are the 8 guys who are going to play. We're in game 1. So what's that mean? The other 5 or 6 guys should get ready to not help us the whole year? I got to prepare a whole team. Early in the year, I play a lot of guys. I've always done it, and I will continue to do it. It's my job to prepare everyone on our roster to help us at one point or another during the season. And I've got to do that without hurting our opportunities to win. But that's my job. I've got to take care of that. Now, obviously, Chris Silva and Mike Kotsar, they're not going to, knock on wood, spend a whole lot of time on the bench next to me. Hassani, I think, has taken a huge step forward as a player. Corey's also a very good player, and he understands what we're doing. And then of all those first-year guys, every one of them has done something at some point to make me feel comfortable with them. So we got to figure all that out. That's not, our sport's different, I think. And because of how we play, we need depth. We can't, my first 2.5 years here, we had no depth. So it was hard to play the way I wanted to play. But it's all right. We figured it out. We managed it and dealt with it. Now we've got depth. We gotta utilize that depth and grow it and help it be prepared.
What's your expectation?
You're in indoor suspension. Late. Late.
You started early.
What's up, Phil?
What's your expectations for the early signing period, and do you think you got a bump in recruiting from the Final Four exposure and experience?
Am I supposed to announce who we're signing? You'd probably be happy. I'll get me fired. A lot of people happy you can get me fired. Phil, I'm not being a smart you-know-what with what I'm getting ready to say. I've had that question about the bump in recruiting asked of me. Obviously, our recruiting must have been pretty good since we did go to the Final Four. Either I need to be retired as the smartest coach in the history of the game, or my assistants need to be given credit for have recruited real good players. It's one or the other. Our guys have recruited real good players. I don't know if we've gotten a bump from the Final Four. I think we've continued to recruit the right guys. I think the pool has gotten bigger. Maybe that's a better way to explain it. The pool of people that we can recruit has gotten bigger. That doesn't make the job easier. It actually makes it more complicated because now you better take the right guy. You got 3 talented players. You better take the one that fits who you are, not the one that sounds sexier publicly. And I'm not big on winning the recruiting public war. That's not important to me. I know you and I have joked about this in the past. Stars to me are irrelevant. Rankings, all that stuff. The only ranking that ever mattered when I was in high school was for the local YMCA one-on-one tournament because you got ranked and figure out who you were playing in the bracket. But all that stuff to me is irrelevant. I recruit for a living. It's hard for me to figure out who's good enough. I don't know how people figure out who's the 39th best player and who's the 52nd best player. I don't know how people can do their jobs well enough to figure that one out. I get it. It's interesting. Some people care for that. Some people buy that information. It's a way to make a living. I respect it. I'm not like the kids say, I'm not trying to hate on somebody's success. I'm not into winning the court of public opinion. I'm into winning on the court. And we've got to take the right guys. And will we sign guys early? We're trying. Who will they be? Heck, you probably follow it better than me. You probably got more information than me. They keep me in the dark till the day they say they're in. But we're trying to sign guys early. That, I don't know if that's fair enough to say or not. And we might not. If we don't, they're going to ride that wave till whenever we're told that, you know, we're in, out, you know, not sexy enough. I don't know, you know. I'm going to do a lot of sit-ups between now and April. If I'm not sexy enough in November, maybe I can be better looking in whenever, April, whenever that sunny period is. That won't have a tan. I got to work on that one. Tanning beds.
Frank, is everybody else healthy? And the brace on Chris's shoulder, is that something he might have to wear all year? Do you see any? It doesn't look like he's limited by it, but.
You know, he tweaked his shoulder, not separated, not dislocated, none of that. He just had like I don't want to, like, you know, that's why I don't talk about injuries, because I'm probably going to misspeak, but I think it was an AC sprain, if I remember correctly. This was 2 weeks ago. That's just more not preventive, there you go, than anything. That's not to maintain. It's his discomfort is when you, like, touch in there. So it's more of a padding than it is a stabilizer. Does that make sense what I'm saying? So I'm hoping he actually takes that crap off. He should be past that, but he's got to do whatever makes him feel comfortable. Should be.
Frank Becker, what did you see from Hassani on Sunday that you liked, maybe that you didn't like as a leader?
As a leader, he didn't play real well in the first half, and I kind of challenged him a little bit, and he accepted that. Last year, he would have not sulked, but he would have, like, sat around and said, "Man, why is everyone on me?" This year, in that game, he kind of said, "You know what? He's right. I didn't play well. I didn't defend. I got to play better." And, you know, like I said earlier, he was going up against a 3-year starting point guard on an NCAA team that's good. You know, Justin Robinson's a real good player. And I thought he was a lot better in the second half. And he's playing with a lot of confidence right now. And he needs to keep doing that. You know, I'm real happy with him. You know, he might play well Friday, might not. I got no idea, but I'm happy with him. And whether he plays well or not doesn't mean that I'm going to be happier or less happy with him. He just has to continue to grow into leading through his personality. I thought that was a big step for him. He embraced the fact that he didn't play real well in the first half and accepted coaching and went out and played a lot better in the second half.
Based on what you guys did last year, do you expect a different vibe this year for road games, be it the crowd, opposing teams, trying to take out a team that obviously went to the Final Four last year?
The answer to that probably is yes. I kind of went through this at Kansas State University, and I got a feeling it might be the same for us now. You know, I remember going on the road, you know, with South Carolina, and the arena had no atmosphere, and we'd lose, and it was just like ho-hum, just another day in the neighborhood kind of deal. I can sense that because I went through it over there. I remember in 2000, it was either 2011, yeah, it was 2011. We lost a road game, and the other school stormed the court. And that's when I realized that, okay, our program has changed now. I'm assuming, I'm not going to say people are going to storm the court against us, but I'm assuming that we're going to be viewed along those lines when we go on the road now. And if someone beats us on the road and something like that happens, then I'll kind of feel that things are changing as far as the way we're perceived by opposing fans and players and coaches and so forth.
Anybody else? Okay, thanks, Frank.
Thank you.